Welcome to tonight's workshop, the final of 4 workshops on the use, misuse, and alternatives to pesticides, brought to you by the Asheville Alternatives to Pesticides Still Information Coalition. We are the very talented Jillian Wolfe, who sadly is not with us this evening due to illness. The very sweet Christina Ponton in the back there. Very sweet. The man of many traits, Randall Fledger in the back. The incredible pollinator protector matriarch, Phyllis Stiles over here. And myself, Marielle Angel, graduate student here at LRU in Science of Sustainability Studies. We'd like to give a warm thank you to you all this evening, and special thanks to our sponsors, Dallas Taylor over here, our videographer, Bountiful Cities, the Lenormand Center for Graduate Studies, my own personal favorite professor, who's not here yet, but over here, Keith McDade, my peers who showed up over here and back there, sustainability student here, just graduated, and also a special thanks to our sponsors, Green Life Grocery, Green Sage Cafe, Roots Hummus, French Broad Food Co-op, Urban Orchard Cider, and Highland and Catawba Brewing.
Can I say
yes.
that Rings Creek Nursery was really disappointed that they weren't able to come tonight. They've come to all three, all the other ones.
Yeah.
And so they were sending their apologies for missing it tonight.
Yes, they're fantastic. If you haven't been to their nursery, please check it out. You will. It's amazing. And their website is also on the program. To quote poet, philosopher, and educator James K. Fableman in his book titled The Prevalence of Ignorance, "The beginning of genuine knowledge lies in the understanding of ignorance. We have tended to think of ignorance as a kind of blank, a nothingness about which no more can be said. But this is simply not the case. Ignorance has its own depths and dimensions. It is vast, dense, and complex, and is indeed the flip side of knowledge. A child's mind is not a blank. Obviously, it is structured to receive certain impressions, but these lie chiefly in the future. An empty container is not nothing. It is a box built to hold a certain kind of material, and in the meanwhile is simply lacking its contents. Adult ignorance comes in 2 varieties: the lack of knowledge and the presence of false knowledge. The first consists in a simple absence of information. It can be remedied, but only slowly. Schools are professional avenues of remedy. The second is the more stubborn case, for it can consist not in ignorance of what there is, but of a firm grip on false information, knowing, so to speak, what isn't so. Tonight, I ask you to consider this workshop as a professional avenue of remedy, not only for you, but for the knowledge you can take back to all of our community members. Tonight we'll be empowered by the tools of knowledge about how to use alternatives instead of synthetic pesticides from these environmental stewards: Michael Wells, local reformed organic farmer on 200 acres, Patrick Battle of Living Web Farms, Randall Fledger of Grass to Greens, and Sunil Patel of Patchwork Urban Farms. Let's give a warm welcome first to Michael Wells.
Well, I don't really know where to start, but we've started dairy for years. 4th generation dairy, and it got to the point there that we couldn't make any money dairying. It was devastating. So we had to clean up all our stuff, fertilizers, and all sprays and everything that we had to do. We had to find places to even go with it. I remember having to go to the landfill and ask them to take some of the stuff. And they did, and found other farmers that used the sprays and stuff and gave it to them just to get rid of the stuff. But it took about a full 1.5 years just to get stuff ready to be able just to get certified. And the reason I went to Earth Fair and was kept walking through to just see what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do vegetables or what, and something just led me back to chickens, because we used to raise chickens way back. So I did the research we needed to do, and we started small. And it took, I'll say, 3 to 4 years before I could really saw a profit really coming. And after the chickens there, we kept just getting bigger and bigger, automatic feeders and everything, and it looked good. And I had about 3,700 chickens. At that one time, I was the largest organic chicken farmer producing eggs in North Carolina at that time. And I was shipping eggs from all the way from Atlanta to always the eastern part of North Carolina, Whole Foods, French Broad Co-ops, any of the organic, anybody that did anything with organics, I was, in there, and had a lot of restaurants, bagel shops that were using what I call flat stacks, and they did real good. And they did a thing there that put a big sign up, said, we're gonna, use organic eggs, and they did. And I tell you, the people piled in there. So, and that did real good. And all of a sudden, we needed to change chickens, and I made the mistake of bringing chickens in from out of Texas. And they came in here and they were MG positive birds and didn't know it. And when they got raised up, I put them in with my other chickens and literally lost them. And there was, what really bothered me more than anything, because I tried to get insurance to protect in case of a full loss, and there was any kind of insurance or anything, so you just had to consume the loss of it. So after we buried all the chickens, they come in and they quarantined the farm. That's what they did. And they designated a place for me to dig. The state come up and we dug big holes and buried all the chickens. And so then I decided, what am I going to do? So I thought, well, I'm going to start raising potatoes. So I started raising potatoes, doing Reds and Yukons, some Kennebecs, not as many. But, and that's kind of what I'm doing, raising the potatoes now. I alternate, since I've got so much land, I'll plant, I'll go to a new piece of ground, be new ground, it's never had potatoes in it, and keep rotating all the way around. My son, he's got his doctorate in plant science, and he said as long as I keep doing that, it will, I'll keep my disease and stuff like that down. So that's what I've been doing. And so far, last year wasn't a good year, but my Reds were real good, but Yukons didn't do real good. So, and that's kind of what I've been doing since then. If I can find enough help to help hoe. But any questions or anything?
What's MG?
MG it's a respiratory problem with birds. If you get your birds, I started going down east, picking my birds up, ready to start laying within 2 weeks. They give a vaccine on these birds at day 1 and a vaccine right before they start laying. When I pick them up, then they're fine. My first birds I got, they were vaccinated. The birds that I brought in, they were not. They come out of Texas. And I did not think far enough and say, are these vaccinated birds? Let that, that's called education. So when they got in there, everything was fine. They started laying good and everything, and all of a sudden they just started literally sound like a cough. And then next thing you know, they'd be over there, they'd be dead. And 1, 2, 3, and I thought, well, that's nothing. Then all of a sudden, here you're having 15 to 20. And I thought, oh, and so I started taking them to the lab. The lab could not take them to them. We can't find nothing. We can't find nothing. I said, there's something wrong. I said, we tested their water. We tested everything I knew to test. The guy come in and he said, now listen, I need you to find a bird that looks like it's about ready to get sick. And I found 3 there that looked droopy. Grabbed them, took them to the lab. They killed them and fast froze them. Sent them to Raleigh. And Raleigh, the next 2 days later, they come back and they quarantined my whole farm. And that was devastating. And here I had, gosh, I don't know, it was, I know I had, I'll say 50 to 70 cases of eggs out there on the market at that time. Thinking, wondering, gosh, is this going to affect the people? The first thing they told me was, they said, MG doesn't bother humans. All right, so I said, okay, will you give me a statement saying that? They would not. No, we're not going to do that. And I said, so I went to Earth Fair and told them, I says, they said there's no problem. I said, when I was selling eggs to all these, I had to carry a $2 million policy on my eggs to keep from salmonella or any of that. And, which I tried to do everything right. And so it's, but when it came right down to it, that was devastating. I mean, I could not go back into it because I didn't have enough money to go back into the chicken business like I was in it. And then see, there would have been a lapse of time because I had to raise the chickens back up, and then other people would end up taking the market. It takes forever to get into stores. And it don't take but one bad thing and you're out. And that's kind of one of the things. Bad news travels real fast. Good news, no.
Maybe I missed it, but I wasn't clear on what it was that made you get out of the dairy business in the first place, and I was hoping you'd elaborate.
$13.50 per 100. Now, do you know how many pounds or how many gallons of milk? 100 pounds. Okay, that's approximately about 10 gallons. You was getting paid $13 for 10 gallons of milk. There's no money. I mean, I was having to go to the farm and credit and borrow money every year to pay my creditors off because I couldn't keep the farm, pay the taxes, and keep the farm going. And so it just came to me, and I said, listen, I said, one way to get out of debt, don't create more debt. And so I said, get rid of the cows. And everybody said, go. My brother he got so mad at me for getting out of it because we shared all the machinery and everything together. And that made it good because when we cropped together, we shared the expense. And I told him, I said, I can't do this. I said, I'm losing money, and I'm not going to keep losing money. Which 2 years later, he went out too. At $13, he couldn't make it. We had 137 dairies in Buncombe County. The only reason I know that because I used to take feed and deliver feed to all these. Now we got 3, I think. We have another one that's getting ready to go out. So that's...
Now, that wasn't an organic dairy.
No, it was not. I looked at going into that, but the debt ratio was so great. I even had a pasteurizing facility bought down in oh gosh, it was an ice cream place down toward Franklin. And I really was serious about, transition, changing everything over to doing the dairy. There was money in the milk end of it. There's more now than there was, then. But everybody's putting it under pet milk, or, pet. And I think those laws need to be changed. It needs to be like it is in South Carolina. Because it's not fair, the public needs to be protected. I understand that. But not the person that's milking these cows. If they're doing it right and doing it the way it is, they can get a product out there to the American people with not having to worry about it having Ingles' name on it or some big grocery store industry. And most grocery store industries own the pasteurizing products. So and I knew there was no way of beating it. And that's the reason I said, well, if I'm going to try to do something and do it right, the best thing was just to get out of it and not create more debt. So when the Farm Credit told me I was going to put my land up as collateral, I said it was time to get out. And that's what I did.
How many acres of potatoes does it take to make a living?
Well, I don't make a living on my potatoes, I'll be honest with you, because I do about 4 acres, and I've got a big cellar that I do put all these in. It takes approximately time the bug bites, and deer are terrible on potatoes, where they nibble in them, but it takes 2 bushel to make 1 bushel that I can sell to French Broad or any of the organic people. The others I take and donate to the shelters. They love them. When I walk in there, the first thing they say, oh my gosh, good potatoes. And there's a difference. And a lot of people say, there's no difference in potatoes. I'm telling you, there is. So it's bad when people say when they come in, they'll even come out my truck and help me carry them in. so that's pretty well.
What's your biggest potato problem or problems, and how do you address them? How do you treat
Okay, the weeds.
Weeds?
Well, my weeds are the biggest thing there. You got to go in there and haul them out.
Yeah.
And to find help, finding the right help to get in there to be able to haul them. I planted a little later this year, and I meant to. I missed that first opening. I was working on trying to get an early crop in, and I wanted to get an early crop for reds in, but my problem, my reds get too big on me. I had reds, no lying, that big, and there's no market for the reds being that big. What I found out, a lot of times I'd have to take the big red ones and get to the shelters and stuff. But they're just as good as the others, but everybody likes the little ones, and they want to cut them up, and the smaller they are, the better they look like them. So,
what about beetles and so forth?
I've not really had a whole lot of problem, and I don't know if it's because of changing my ground. Moving away from where I have like a potato here, a potato patch here. I may go all the way up on top of the hill completely away, and they've never had potatoes up there, and I'll put a field in up there. And then I used to put them side by side. My reds had a tendency to bleed into my Yukons. And I kept seeing that. You could see the red streaks and stuff that, when they cross-pollinate. So I started separating them more and keeping them away from each other.
I was wondering if you've heard of aquaponics, and if you've considered kale at all.
No, I haven't. I've seen that done. My son showed me some stuff where they were doing that for the bug control, or for the beetle control. I saw that. And that looked good. I haven't tried it though. So that may be something in the future I'll have to look at. So I usually go through there and plow quite a bit, and try to keep them plowed, and try to keep as much labor out of it as I can, because you can eat up every bit of your profit in labor. And if you don't have people that really know how to hoe and stuff like that, they can ruin you. I mean, you can go in there and you can have a lot of bodies, but if they don't know what they're doing, it's a kind of, I've had to ask them to just go ahead and leave. I said, it's just, this is just not cut out for you. So I saw some the other day and asked them, I went up and I said, I'm looking for some people that wanted to hoe some. And it was 2 girls, nice. And I said, I'm needing to be hoeing. She said, I've never picked up a hoe and I'm not very smart. I've answered that question. Any other questions? Yes?
I think you started to say that you rotated fields regularly?
Yes, I don't try to come back to the field I've had potatoes in for at least 5 years. Because even my son said, it's dangerous enough because I'm using the same equipment of carrying either disease from one field to the next. And I try to keep them far enough. So I got 200 acres there, so I can, I'll put a field 2 or 3 acres here, and then I'll go completely on quarter of a mile away and put another field in. So that helps, I think.
What do you do with the fallow fields in between?
I plant those a lot of times in I'll put them in alfalfa, and I'll cut them back under to end up building nitrogens and stuff back up. And if I get them just right, then I'll turn them back into a hayfield for a while. And then I'll end up being back there with something. So something to build the soil back. That's the whole thing. Those potatoes pull a lot out of ground. So that's the only benefit I've had about changing grounds. I'm not up the same ground, pulling everything out of it, and you have to sit there and put all this back in the ground to be able to. So it's a blessing on my ancestors, I've got enough land I can do that.
There's a lot of talk around the country, particularly in organic farming, about hedgerows and leaving places for the pollinators, the native pollinators, as well as the honeybees. And so I'm just wondering how that plays into what you're doing, because I don't think potatoes need pollinators, do they?
Oh gosh, yes, they have to be pollinated. When I put them right beside the bees and stuff that come in there, they automatically. That's the reason I had reds and Yukons side by side. That don't work. The first 3 rows are just like, oh man, I thought they looked like half reds. And they literally crossed over big time. I couldn't believe how much they crossed over. Really helped good, because you could see the red in the Yukon. And I think it helped the Yukon because sometimes I use them as my seed potato. And it really, it changed probably some of the hardness of the potato. And I think because I use a lot of my seed potatoes, I keep some all along in my some.
So Michael, you've never had to spray, you've never even tried to spray for any bugs, you just don't worry about them, right?
No, I don't
See, I think
worry
that's
about
why you don't have any beetle problems. What I've learned over the course of time is that if you try to stop the potato beetle, you'll keep having to try and try and try, whereas you just let it go for a little while, those potatoes can take some eating and it doesn't matter. And eventually, there's so many nice, tender, juicy larvae and eggs that everybody in the world comes in there and eats. You can, if you have yourself a nice big bloom of potato beetle larvae, potato beetle eggs, you'll see every predator in the world. You'll see lacewings, you'll see ladybugs, you'll see, I've even seen bombardier beetles, this ground beetle that normally doesn't feed on those kind of things, up there just chowing down. So lots of times the best solution is to hold your fire, which is in my talk, and just let things happen, you know.
What about soil amendment? Do you do anything to the soil?
I do well, that's where a lot of times I'll plant like stuff to build soil. If I'm like my alfalfas and stuff like that, I usually try to go back into where I've had alfalfa. This other field, I had a lot of stinging nettles, and it was full of stinging nettles. Honestly, it's the prettiest potatoes I've ever seen, and it's pretty easy to kill. You just run through it with a roto and it's don't have no problem with that. So that's the main thing here. And I lime. I try to keep my ground limed.
Are potatoes just one season, just a spring crop, or is it any fall?
It's fall. We gather it to fall.
Okay, so you plant them both?
So we plant them in the spring, and now down east, they're doing like 2 crops. They're doing 2 crops of reds.
Okay.
But I could probably do that here, but I don't think I can keep the potatoes cold enough, because I want it to get cold enough to when I start putting them in my cellar that they'll keep. And so far I've been pretty lucky on that. I keep we plow them up, we make sure they're good and dry, and then we go in there and pick them up by hand, and then we put them in the boxes and stuff, and we make sure when they go in there, I usually even take a big fan and just keep running it in that thing there until I get them all in there where I can close it up. And so far I've been pretty, knock on wood, I've been lucky on when it comes spring, they'll sprout just a little bit, but very little. And then I'll sit there and wash them, and that's where you end up with 2 bushels to make 1. And a lot of you, if you bought any potatoes from French Broad Co-op, that's where I'm the one that supplies it for.
So when are you going to plant now? In the fall? Soon? Or?
No, it'd be spring.
Oh, so
spring. I plant in spring. Yeah. So I harvest in the fall.
Okay. Gotcha.
I've only grown potatoes a few times in 5 or 6 different years, but I would, cut these seed taters up in the pieces where they had an eye, and then dip them in sulfur and dry them out. Do you do that?
No, not now. I used to. Because everybody kept saying it keeps the bugs from eating them. Tell you something that works better than that. Live. Just straight live. I bought a guy's potato harvester thing there. Best machine I ever you sit there and cut these things. I've got a thing where you just dump a whole thing of potatoes and it goes down. It's got its own cutter. It runs up a little conveyor. It goes into a big lime thing with a big barrel, and it sits there and it covers the lime on it, and they come down. You go straight to the field and plant right then. I made the mistake. I got caught. This happened with my Yukons last year, because it takes so much time to cut these things up. I sit there and did that, was ready to go to the field, when the skies opened up, had everything ridged, everything. Took 6 days before I could get back in the thing. Here you got these potatoes sitting there 6 days. They got soft and they ruined, really. I planted them anyway, but I didn't end up with about a 20% crop because of that one reason. And this other machine, it's a lifesaver. When you can dump it and you just keep dumping your potatoes in there and they're coming out as fast as you're dumping them, and you can get the tractor and then you go. That's when you're making money. When you have to hire everybody to cut the potatoes, and then you have to stir them up in the lime, or if you wanted to use the other, is fine. But I found out the lime worked better than anything. So that's about the end of that.